I don't want to be winch master anymore. It's annoying because we were trying to fix something and it turns out that we've just ended up breaking it instead.
Look at that big patch of grass. Look at it all. There's got to be a fish. Come on. We caught seaweed. We're ghosting along it. 6 knots with 11 knots just behind the beam.
Pools now fit into their little pool homes. I should not be a mechanic. Almost 2 years ago, we left it all behind for a chance at the sailing adventure of a lifetime.
It has not been smooth sailing since then, but together we are learning and laughing our way through.
Our hope is that if we laugh long enough, we can make our merry way around the world.
And this
is a Millennial Falcon.
Just on our way around to Hillsborough. The birthday party last night was a great success. We all had a really good time. And this morning we woke at about 7 AM to a knock on the hull from, actually I have no idea who it was. He was in a very unofficial looking boat, but he seemed to know what he was on about. And he seemed to be quite official in nature, maybe. Anyway, he insisted that we were anchored in a channel, which I don't agree with. Channel's over there, we were over there. Anyway, so he said, you've got to move. So we figure, what better excuse to pop around to Hillsborough and get the best chicken and chips money can buy in Carriacou, which is exactly what everyone needs the day after a party. So we're going to nip around to Hillsborough, get some greasy chicken and chips to make ourselves feel better. And then we will, by then, Khiara will finish her winch.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm still in the middle of the winching, of putting the winch back together. And by the time I finish this, we should be able to set off for a nice sail downwind to Rond, wind on the beam down to Rond, which is about 10 miles away. It's Rond Island in between Grenada and Carriacou. And then from there tomorrow we'll head back down further to Grenada.
It's so close. I mean, it's like right there, and it should, based on the wind as it stands, it should be a beam reach the whole way. So it's going to be a nice day, and we have a nice freshly bed winch, or we should.
Should be our winches have gotten a little squeaky, so this should clear that up at least, I'm hoping.
Assuming my chief engineer finishes the job.
So we've anchored, and on the way down here I've been putting the winch back together, but there's one little problem to the plan, is that so this little top cap here that usually goes on there and pretty much holds the whole thing into place. Without it, this just comes off again. The plastic's broken on the bottom. If I try and put this nut in where it should go, it should sit there flush with the plastic, and there's nothing here to hold it into its place. So it's just popping right on out. This is obviously like a durable plastic, but because it's 40 years old, I think our original winches, because it's 40 years old, they've just become brittle and like disintegrated. So, can't go anywhere without winches. So, we've been debating how to fix this. If we had a 3D printer, we would obviously try and get it made up with a 3D printer, but this place just doesn't, they don't have things like that really. So we're thinking what we're going to do is we're going to fill in this part here with resin, the little gaps here with resin. We're going to put a layer of 1 or 2 layers over here of fiberglass just to strengthen it, and then we're going to drill a hole in there, so when we pop this in it'll have something to sit against to prop it up with, and we'll be able to drill the holes back in and finally screw this thing back down again. It's annoying because we were trying to fix something and it turns out that we've just ended up breaking it instead. I don't know how we're going to get a new one of these because this whole winch is just discontinued. So that's going to be fun. Okay, now to put some fiberglass over the holes, just to keep it in, but it's looking pretty good for now. All done, it's all cleaned up now. It looks pretty good, I think. Should work well enough. I've put 2 layers of fiberglass over the top of the holes and filled in the other gaps with a bit of resin with some chopped strand mix in as well, just for a little bit of just more strength, I guess. We'll wait a few minutes, an hour or so for it to dry and see how it turns out. So our plans to head south to Rhode Island that day were put on hold, but we finished off the afternoon with some chicken and chips while we waited for the cap to dry. So it's the next morning and this is the result. It's looking pretty good. Both Adam and I have inspected it and believe that it will do as good a job, if not better, than the plastic that was there beforehand. So I'm just going to drill some holes into it and we can get going sailing down to Grenada. The wind gen's been going off, which means that that's an indication for us that it's at least 15 knots or so, because our wind gen doesn't usually spin less than 15 knots. So some good wind for the sail as well, but it is expected to die off a little, so we're kind of eager to get going pretty quickly. So yeah, all right, time to start drilling. All right, the squeaking is from here, not the winch. It shouldn't be from the winch. There you go. Works, it's good. Go, we can go sailing. Whew, we're a sailboat again.
Day and a half later.
A day and a half later, my quick 2-hour job. I don't want a big winch master anymore. I'm handing the baton over. I just break things. No, I think this looks like a good fix. It's great until it breaks though, isn't it? Always.
That's going to be like temporarily permanent, I reckon.
Yeah, I'd say so, until we can find another one, or at least get a 3D printer or something.
Yeah,
I think that's or a new winch indeed, but I think that's when we're millionaires.
So now that we are deficient one radar pole, we have the unique challenge of getting the outboard on board this boat because we've just lost our hoisting point. So we're gonna just kind of hoist the outboard the way we hoist the dinghy with the spinnaker halyard, and then just both of us just manhandle it back to the dinghy mount, and then we'll just muscle it on top and let the dinghy sit inside the stern pulpit.
Look ahead, the sea is calm, and I know we've been through a lot, but just wait. Wait for better days to come and carry us like wind in our sails. Hold on tight, I can
Something is wrong with my winch.
Okay, so we are under sail, but the winch doesn't work. It can go in one speed, but it can't go in the other. So it's going to need to be opened up again, and I'm going to need to look at that one. But not great, because we're pretty much, it's like one tack on just the whole way, and it just happens to be on that side, as usual, as you would expect. So we I think I might just do it when we're there, and just use our smaller winch for now, our staysail winch, unless we have to use the staysail, and well, we can't use it now. Anyway, so yeah, that is the situation. Still, we're underway. It's not all that bad. We've got 2 knots of wind, almost directly from behind. It's a great start, but you know, we'll get there. Good thing we left early. to change because skirts and tops with fluffy little attachments are not good on sailing days. I knew that.
Meanwhile, we are doing 7.5, 8 knots from 17, and it's allegedly like 25 degrees off the nose. I don't think so. We're getting a lot of interference from the land, so the wind's a bit all over the place, but we're screaming along. I'm really happy with how quick we're going. We haven't seen over 18 knots. We have a full canvas up. The jibber's got a terrible trim on it for obvious reasons, and we're still screaming along at like 7.5 knots. And we've not really even gotten into the clear breeze yet. Look at that big patch of grass. Look at it all. There's got to be a fish. Come on.
Seaweed!
We caught seaweed! Yay! A lot of seaweed.
Good old seaweed dinner!
I don't want the seaweed, I want the fish. There's got to be a mahi waiting for me. Hey! We've just passed Rond, which pretty well means we're about to clear into the lee of the main island of Grenada. Took us about 2.5 hours. No fish, a lot of seaweed, but that's fine. Our winch repair hasn't worked, as you know already, so we just kind of used the starboard staysail winch as a turning block, I guess you could say, and ran it to the port winch, which has held up fine. If I was to tack again, which I doubt we'll need to, I would just run it around the broken winch once, no wraps, just turn it and then run across, just so that we still have a staysail winch for the preventer, because presently the wind's kind of shifting around behind us, and I've just got the preventer in this jam cleat. Usually we use the staysail winch to sort of crank on the preventer a little bit, whereas these jam cleats have a tendency to get a bit stuck if it gets shock loaded. We're ghosting along at 6 knots with 11 knots just behind the beam, and the sea is super flat. We're screaming along. I think it's because we're headed a fair way west of south, and so the current that's usually against you and you know, when you're trying to make easting is now sort of partially behind us, helping us along. So it's always a much better run. I probably said it on the way up that it's a much better run heading down. And that's proving to be the case today. I'm glad we left today because we got an extra day to fix the winch. Got some awesome greasy chicken, and it's a pretty cruisy sunny day. So hopefully the trip down the lee of Grenada, which is always a little bit tedious, is a smooth run as well. Seaweed. Waiting for the wind. It always happens in this spot down the coast every time. You just have to be patient. Just waiting for that band of pressure out there to reach us. It's been coming for about 10 minutes now. Not sure it's going to get here. But we got nowhere to be and no reason to turn the engine on yet. We've got 2.7 miles to go.
It's just a lesson in patience. We've often in the past been a tad impatient. We're like, oh, it's just 10-20 minutes of motoring. No, we can't keep doing that.
Look at the lure. It's
What's
like
it?
sinking and slowly like catching up to the boat. It's going to be hanging straight down soon if we don't start moving. We're doing less than a knot, so it's like probably 100 feet down at the moment.
After another 20 minutes of floating around, we face the fact that we weren't going anywhere anytime soon, and turn the engine on to get to anchor. So it's 3:30 and we are at anchor. We took about 6.5 hours or so to get here. Yeah, it was really good. Sometimes we were flying at 8 knots, and then obviously as evidenced by our last half an hour, we were also at 0.8 knots. So it was a bit up and down all day, but it was quite nice.
Mostly up.
Yeah, mostly up. Yeah, it was a really nice ride the whole time, and considering it wasn't meant to be any more than like 12 knots of wind, we had a great day of sailing. It was really good. So anyway, we're here in St George's. We're in the ugliest anchorage available, but it doesn't need to be ugly. So it is ugly. It doesn't need to be pretty. It just needs to get us close to where we need to go. And if we're gonna do any, well, if I'm gonna collect parcels, etc., I really don't want to be dinghying for like 25 minutes to go to the next closest anchorage. So I'm gonna put up with a little bit of ugly for convenience this time. We're in a new bay. New day, new bay. So yesterday we came into St George's. It's actually just the bay next to St George's, and it's a little bit of a holding place, I think, for cargo containers, because there are some just right there. It's not the prettiest of spots, but it is certainly the most convenient, because I believe St George's anchorage is still a quarantine place. So I need to get to fixing this winch so that we can actually head off and sail somewhere. Still obviously I have a few more things to do in this anchorage, but for now, getting moving and making sure the winch isn't broken is my first priority. I have a feeling I've just put something in upside down. I'm really hoping that's the case, because I'm not going to be happy with myself, and Adam is not going to be happy with me either if I've broken our winch, which I've already done once, so see if I can fix it twice. Oh, step number 1, get the right Allen key. I think I found the problem. Look at this. I put it in backwards. Alright, so I'll just change it around now. The little, I think they're called pools. The little pools now fit into their little pool homes. Very well. I should not be a mechanic. Okay, before I tighten it up, I'll make sure it's all good, and this time I'll actually put a rope on it to see whether it winches. All good, so I'll put the top bolts on, and there we go. Don't put your pulls in backwards. Whoops!